Welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining us today because, honestly, we're diving into something of a masterclass on post-production. We're going to break down exactly how you take just average, everyday content and transform it into a truly emotionally resonant experience for the viewer. We're talking real hard data and the actual psychological triggers that completely separate the stuff people scroll past from the stuff they literally cannot stop watching.
All right, so let's quickly run through our agenda. We are walking through the complete psychological life cycle of a viewer, right from that very first click down to the final subtitle. So we'll hit on designing the perfect thumbnail, the psychology of color, mastering audio rhythm, visual flow and B-roll, and finally, perfecting subtitle sync. Let's get right into it. Section 1. Designing the perfect thumbnail. We have to start with the absolute first touch point of any viewer's journey. Because, let's face it, none of your brilliant editing even matters if nobody actually clicks in the first place.
So, I really want you to ask yourself, what actually drives the click? Think about that split-second psychological decision that makes someone choose one specific piece of content out of the literally thousands of options popping up on their screen. You know, it isn't random. It is a highly engineered moment of visual communication.
Now, wrap your head around this number, 921,000. According to research over at Amplifier, that is the staggering number of extra average views that thumbnails featuring human faces get compared to those without them. It's wild. It is absolutely crucial to include human faces if you want to increase viewer connection and overall watch time. Our brains are just fundamentally hardwired for facial recognition, right? It's the ultimate attention magnet.
So, to really capitalize on that, let's break down some hard and fast rules. First off, you absolutely must prioritize emotional facial expressions in your clips and thumbnails to boost audience retention. Sadness, surprise, shock. These instantly create a mini story in the viewer's mind. Second, use high contrast colors. Think red and blue, or yellow and purple. You need to make those key visual elements pop against the boring white and gray platform interfaces. And third, this is a big one. Design thumbnails with under 3 words to maximize viewer click rates. Less is absolutely more here. Jamming it full of text just creates cognitive friction.
But there's a catch. It's something we call the thumbnail content alignment paradox. Chris Munch, the CEO of Red Amplifier, hit the nail on the head. He warns that, yeah, misleading clickbait might get you an initial spike in traffic, but the second the viewer realizes they've been tricked, they bounce, they are gone. And that completely destroys your overall watch time, which practically guarantees the algorithms will actively penalize your channel. The rule is simple. Promise big, but always deliver on that promise.
Moving right along to Section 2, the psychology of color. Let's transition from that initial click into the immersive visual elements that actually lock in a viewer's attention once the content starts playing.
Think about the classic color wheel, specifically how it's split right down the middle into warm and cool zones. Professional visual effects artists strategically manipulate how we feel using these exact high-contrast palettes. Want to evoke joy or maybe comfort? You lean heavy into those warm tones. But if you're trying to build suspense or maybe a really bleak atmosphere, you shift gears straight into the cool blue spectrum. You know, it isn't just about making things look pretty. It's literally painting with emotional intent. All right, Section 3, Mastering Audio Rhythm. As we pull the viewer deeper into the experience, we hit the real emotional anchor of your entire edit. Sound is never just an afterthought, guys. It completely dictates the energy of your narrative. There's a massive difference in how you handle sound depending on what you want the audience to feel. Sometimes you actually want to play a scene entirely dry, no music at all. That emphasizes the raw facial expressions and dialogue, which deeply grounds the viewer in reality. But when you do bring in a score, you have to align your music peaks with the key visual moments for maximum emotional impact. By tailoring your pacing so the music swells exactly right after a vital piece of dialogue, you are actively manipulating the audience's emotional state. It makes the moment feel incredibly profound.
That brings us to Section 4, visual flow and B-roll. Let's look at how this pacing builds into smoothing out the actual visual narrative using supplemental footage. So if we look at the highly structured Pipet editing methodology, great visual flow always begins with your ears, not your eyes. Step 1, start with the sound structure. Step 2, set up your beat sync markers. And Step 3, cut to that rhythm. But remember, context is everything. If you're tailoring the pacing to suit an educational audience focused on skill acquisition, your cut should be clean, steady, and exactly on the beat to help them learn, rather than those chaotic, offbeat cuts you'd see in a frantic music video.
The craziest part is how fast the tech for this is moving. AI tools, like the B-roll generator from Copwing, can literally listen to your narration, automatically pull relevant stock footage, and sync it frame by frame right to your voice. It completely removes the headache of manually scrubbing through endless folders of assets. It's a total game changer, saving creators absolute hours of timeline placement while still keeping the audience totally visually engaged.
And finally, Section 5, Perfecting Subtitle Sync. We've reached the very last step of the post-production pipeline, which is ensuring accessibility and cognitive ease through absolutely flawless synchronization.
Look, if your viewers are relying on text to retain your message, structure is everything. CPS, or characters per sequence, is your golden metric here. The best practices from CheckSub say you should really keep your CPS below 70 and cleanly split the text into two relatively equivalent lines. Doing this drastically improves readability. It stops the viewer from feeling completely overwhelmed by a giant wall of text.
But here's the thing. Getting the text right just isn't enough if the timing is off. Get ready for this data point because it is wild. 22 milliseconds. That is exactly how fast the human eye and ear can detect an audio-to-text delay. If your subtitles are out of sync by just a fraction of a second, your audience will actually feel subconsciously uncomfortable. Microsecond precision really does matter immensely if you want to maintain viewer immersion.
Which brings us to our final thought today. With all this talk about click-through rates, CPS, and AI generation, it is so easy to get lost in the machinery of it all. But I want to leave you with this question. Are you editing for the algorithm, or are you editing for the human heart? All of these technical skills we've talked about, the high contrast colors, the beat sync, putting human faces in the thumbnails, they are simply tools to serve human emotion. If you master these techniques, you won't just capture attention, you'll actually make people feel something real. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I genuinely cannot wait to see how you apply this masterclass to your own creations.